I've now watched the entire first season of The Beauty, all 11 episodes, and I have a question. What exactly is this show supposed to be? Is it a crime thriller, a satire about beauty culture, body horror, corporate conspiracy? Because after 11 episodes, it somehow manages to be all of those things, and none of them at the same time. And strange thing is, the show actually starts with a really strong idea, but somewhere along the way, the story just quietly loses control of itself. The premise, the core idea, is genuinely interesting. There's a virus called the Beauty. It spreads through sex. It makes people physically perfect. Perfect skin, perfect body, perfect appearance. But eventually, it kills them. That's a fantastic premise for a thriller. There are so many directions you could take that idea. You could explore beauty culture, celebrity obsession, corporate exploitation, medical ethics, government cover-ups. There's a lot of potential there, and the show does touch on some of those ideas, but the problem is it never really commits to any of them. The opening episode. The show actually opens with a memorable scene. A model starts overheating, she drinks water constantly, she runs through the streets, and eventually she explodes. Literally explodes, and you think, all right, this is going to be weird. Maybe a bit dark, maybe a bit satirical. Then the show introduces our two FBI agents, and the very first scene with them, they're lying in bed talking about breast implants and teeth, which immediately tells you something about the pacing of the show, because despite the wild premise, a lot of this series is just people talking and talking and talking some more. Too many characters. One of the biggest problems the show runs into is the number of characters. There are a lot of them. We have the FBI agents, Jeremy, the assassin, corporate executives, scientists, victims, government officials, family members, and more new characters being introduced throughout the season, and the show keeps jumping between them, which wouldn't necessarily be a problem if the story had a clear centre, but it doesn't. Sometimes the show feels like it's about Jeremy, sometimes it feels like it's about the assassin, sometimes it's about Byron Forst. Sometimes it's about random characters we've barely met. Meanwhile, the two FBI agents who are supposed to be investigating all of this regularly disappear from the story entirely. The investigation that goes nowhere. This is probably the strangest thing about the series. The premise is literally about two FBI agents investigating a deadly virus. But the investigation never really builds momentum. The agents arrive somewhere, they talk to someone, they get a bit of information, then the story moves somewhere else. Entire episodes go by where they're barely involved in the main plot, which makes the whole thing feel oddly disconnected. It's like the story keeps happening somewhere else, and the FBI agents are just trying to catch up with it. The transformation problem. The virus also introduces a weird storytelling challenge, because when people take the serum, they transform. Completely. Different face, different appearance, different actor, and while that's an interesting idea, it creates a strange effect. Characters are constantly being replaced by new actors, so you're repeatedly adjusting to who someone is supposed to be, which makes it harder to stay emotionally connected to the story. Byron Forst. Then we have the central antagonist, Byron Forst, a billionaire pushing the beauty serum as the next big thing. At first, he's clearly the villain. He's manipulating events, people are dying, he's covering things up. Classic powerful billionaire behaviour. But later in the season, the show starts trying to make him more sympathetic. And the shift doesn't really land, because we've already seen the damage he's caused. So the attempt to soften the character feels a bit late. Coincidence problems. Another issue that keeps appearing throughout the series is coincidence. A lot of things happen simply because the story needs them to happen. Characters meet exactly when they need to, people show up in exactly the right place, security systems don't exist when someone needs to escape, the rules of the virus change depending on what the plot needs. Sometimes transformation takes time, sometimes it happens almost instantly, sometimes it completely changes someone's appearance, sometimes it doesn't. The internal logic isn't very consistent. The final episodes. By the time we reach the final part of the season, the show leans fully into chaos. The beauty serum is pushed toward public approval. Government officials start taking it, the approval process gets rushed, and the side effects start getting worse. People mutate, things spiral out of control, and once again, the FBI agents still aren't really driving the story. They're reacting to events happening around them, which is strange because they're supposed to be the central protagonists. Final verdict. So by the time the finale arrives, the show feels less like a tightly constructed mystery and more like a collection of interesting ideas that never quite come together. There's definitely potential in the premise. A virus tied to beauty culture is a fascinating concept, but the storytelling struggles with focus. Too many characters, too many shifting plot lines, too much exposition, and not enough narrative discipline. So the result is a show that often looks impressive, but doesn't always feel coherent. This has been watching nonsense unfold. Sometimes it really is nonsense, and sometimes it's just disappointing. Or is it? Anyway, that's what I thought. I'll be back with whatever I end up watching next.